Okay, so the time is now 5:02, and I will officially call the meeting to order. We will note that Ms. Raybold is running a little bit behind, but she will be joining us here shortly. So we'll start off with our opening business. We do not have any guests with us tonight, so we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Everyone wants to take a second to look it over, and then we'll take a motion and a second. It's only one page. It's a quick one, hopefully today.
Yeah, I know. I think I've flipped because you flipped. I was like, oh, yeah.
Okay, a motion by Ms. A. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Bowers. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving our agenda for tonight, please say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to our next item, which is our March 15th regular meeting minutes. Everyone wants to take a second to review those. There are multiple sides to that.
You do a very good job.
For a staffing meeting, it's not a bad list for a staffing meeting, all things considered.
The writing. At some point, there won't be anyone left on it.
I know portfolios will be gone soon, and no one's going to know what they are. And
The $3 for planners.
Yep.
You had I've gotten the email from Barbara that the planners, that was one of our things that we got. Are we not charging?
we're still going to ask for it at the end of at the start of next year. That'll be one of the instructional fees.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know if that was coming out of our money.
Yeah. No. We.
Okay.
Nope. Just the ones that requested it. Yeah. I think 4th and 5th were the only one who requested planners.
I'll make a motion to approve.
There's a motion by Ms. Bowers. And a second by Ms. Russell. Any discussion or time needed to review? Okay, all in favor of approving our minutes from the March 15th regularly scheduled meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to our next item on the agenda, which is the good news report. We had the dental clinic came here and did checks for our kids. I think we set a record for the number of cavities or teeth pulls for one student. We had one that I think needed 13 cavities filled or something like that. Like it was a lot. But they're coming back to do cleanings and treatment next year. But this year was kind of just evaluations. And we've done some recommendations out, referrals out. We had our Boosterthon fun run for our PTA. We raised over $23,000 for that. We had World Down Syndrome Day. We had our bicycle rodeo. That was fun to get to see the 4th and 5th graders learn to ride bikes on the tennis courts.
Still continuing.
Still continuing. We celebrated lots of different things. National Assistant Principal Week, National School Librarian Week, Paraprofessionals Appreciation Day, and then this week we are celebrating National Volunteer Recognition Week. And we're celebrating those with pictures on Class Dojo. We may see some of our parent SBDM members featured this week with some fun pictures of that. So we appreciate everybody who's doing all the fun things. No, we have super stealthy, sneaky people who find pictures. So no one has submitted any pictures. We make sure they're appropriate.
Now he's like, oh my God.
Any other good news items to report? Okay. So moving on to our school improvement planning report, we are continuing with our progress monitoring phase. Today, we're going to take a look at our map data from the spring testing. So we'll pull it up here. You also have copies in your binder if you would like them. Okay, so we'll start off with math. For math, you can see this is our school-wide trends, school-wide percentages across everything. So what you can see here is we did increase from last spring from 15% to 16% this spring in this lowest range. But the thing that makes me the most excited is our 81 to 99th percentile went up to 45% of our students from 37%. So we have almost half of our students are in that highest range of performance there. As we look, the next slide just shows you all of the grade level percentages, just kind of giving you a view of each grade level as they do individually. Through all of that, you can see kindergarten, 67% of those students are in that highest range, which is amazing. First grade, 56% are in that highest range. Fourth grade, 45% are in that highest range. So we had some really high achievement in math. So we'll kind of spend some time summarizing this data here. So on this slide here, this shows you the percentage of students that are below the 40th percentile. So this is our lowest achieving groups. Kindergarten reduced theirs from 14% down to 11%. First grade, theirs increased up from 15 to 19. Second grade increased from 34 up to 36. Third grade made a big drop from 44 down to 34. Fourth grade went from 21 up to 24. Fifth grade went from 42 to 43. And then overall, as a school, we went from 28 down to 27. So that's great to see that as a school, we're trending down. And even last spring, we were at 29% last spring. So then as we look at the next slide, which is trends over time, this is also the percent below the 40th percentile. The
Hey,
goal.
look at those third graders.
I know.
From third to fourth. Let's just point out that rate right there.
So, yeah. We want these lines going down. So these are the trends over time of that percent below the 40th percentile. We want the lines going down. Kindergarten is going down. Everywhere else, we're overall trending upward. Thank you, Ms. Furtish. I have a copy for you if you need that too. Okay, so then this compares our data to the national norms. So you can see here, in kindergarten, we are 11 points above the national norm, the national average. First grade, we are 10 points above that average. Second grade, we're 1 point above. Third grade, we're 1 point above. Fourth grade, we're 7 points above. And fifth grade, we are 3 points below those national averages. Next, when we look at grade level strength and growth areas, I will say these are all pretty close to each other. The thing we notice kind of predominantly in K through 3, geometry is more of a strength, which is the most recent item that they had taught in all those grade levels before the map test. Fourth and fifth, that area is number and operations.
I'd also point out we had no touchdown.
Yes. So for growth areas, pretty much across the whole building, sporadically measurement and data is an area that we struggle with. I did talk to the chief of our schools, and she just shared, like, we don't use a lot of measurement in our real lives unless you're in a career that really measures significantly. So it's not as something that's used all the time, like some of these other areas are.
And
So-
let's learn two entire systems of things.
Yes.
while
The
we're at it.
standard has changed, you know, I mean, money is no longer in the curriculum, in the standards and it's being tested.
Uh-huh.
And also things like time, the way it's being assessed sometimes is
Different,
completely
yes.
from the expectation, so.
And like fourth grade doesn't really have three-dimensional, but they do, but they don't. Like
Yes.
it's assessed.
So next, when we look at grade level percentages meeting growth, so our goal here is that we want 80% of our students, that's our like highest goal. So I can say from winter to spring, kindergarten met that goal. They're at 84% of their kids met their growth. So they're growing like they're supposed to. 50 to 80%, we're still good growth. We're making more growth than is expected. So we're still doing a good job here. And I didn't fix this again. First grade also, spring to spring, was at 81%. So great job, first grade. So that one should be green there. When we look at this, everywhere with the exception of our fifth grade spring to spring score is above 50%. And we really look predominantly at this fall to spring because that's the impact of each teacher's instruction and the work we've done this school year. We look at spring to spring just to make sure we have that continuation from year to year and we're not losing learning throughout the summer.
Those always stand out to be the kids to look at summer.
Mm-hmm. And that's, yes, we looked at kids who didn't meet their growth and made sure that they got invited for Summer Ignite. Okay, next, when we look at the demographics, this just looks at each individual demographic group. And you can see all these demographic groups are above 50%. Nobody hit 80, no demographic group hit 80 here, but everybody's above 50, everybody's making positive growth in that area. And then our next chart, this is the quadrant report. This is just a way to look at our school as a whole. So we look at it in two ways. We look at achievement compared to growth. And so we have across the top, we have high achievement and low achievement. So high achievement means that you're achieving above the 50th percentile. And so you can see when we look fall to spring, 67% of our students had high achievement, winter to spring, 70%, and then spring to spring is 69% had high achievement. Then we also look at growth. The top is high growth, the bottom is low growth. If they're in high growth, that means they're actually closing the gap or improving above the national norm. So fall to spring, 64% of our students had high growth. Winter to spring, 66% had high growth, and then spring to spring, 69%. And then if you look at the quadrants, this just shows what those percentages are in each area. So great news is we have about 50% of our students that are getting high achievement and high growth across those areas. Okay, so now we'll move into talking about reading. Same charts here. You can see the groupings. So 1 to 20, we went down from 14% to 13% in that lowest range. And we stayed the same 81 to 99, 41 and 41. So still a huge population, but we saw a 5% increase in that 61 to 80 range from 18 up. And of course you have the whole school chart. Kindergarten rocking it at 50% in that highest range. First grade rocking it at 52% in that highest range. And kind of see how each grade level does comparatively. Fourth grade's also up there at that 48%.
You may want to point out sometimes it does dip in second grade because the test goes
Yes.
from being read to being read independently.
Yeah, so that's why you see like this 13 up to the 26, 24, 21 in that lowest range. They're read to not like nothing at all. Like,
That begins at towards the end
depending on how high they
Depending on
get.
how high,
So
yeah.
if they top out, it starts
Mhm.
to.
It's- they- yeah, they have
Stops
to read it.
reading it to them. Well, that's good though.
But
That's good to know.
But the 81 to 99, so winter to spring, it went from 46% in the winter for second grade to 39.
So they saw a little bit of drop off in that highest range. A lot of those kids
Right.
fell into that 8th percentile, 61 to 80.
So they freak out when it stops reading.
Oh yeah.
The good readers are okay. Yeah.
He's like, it's broken.
Yeah,
So
you're
the
lucky
other
if they
one-
notice that it stopped reading to them. That's when, because sometimes the kids, when it reads to them, they don't tell you that it's not reading to them. And
Some kids will say, it's not saying anything. They will look at it.
there's no speaker. It's gone away. But yes, it does. It does throw some kids into tizzies. But yeah, we see a big impact in that 1 to 20 range for those kids, because those kids don't ever get to that range where it doesn't read to them. And so then they go to reading it. And so that's a massive take. And that's why, like, when we look at data, we don't look at second grade spring to spring scores, because it's two different assessments.
Not the same.
So we don't even look at that and compare it. So when we look at the percent below the 40th percentile, great news is everybody in reading either reduced this percentage or maintained it from the winter. And so as a school, this is super exciting. Last spring, we were at 26% of our school was below that range. We're down to 23%. So that's 3%. And I mean, since the start of the year, we're down 8% of where we were, which is phenomenal. Again, the trend lines, it's hard to see on your print copy, but these are a lot flatter. We're not seeing the sharp increase like we saw in math. I don't really like the way I've got this graph, but I can't figure out how to make it better yet. So when we look at the norms, every grade level is above the national norm, which is awesome. Kindergarten, 8 points above. First grade, apparently can't do math. That should be 7 points above, because 78 minus 71 is 7.
This is the reading test. So don't worry.
So second grade was 4 points above. Third grade was 2 points above.
Excuse me, you ran away.
That's wrong. Fourth grade's at 9 points above, and fifth grade is at 3 points above. When we look at growth and strength areas, it's a hodgepodge of everything. What our leadership team really talked about was just how do we work on vocabulary and acquisition, since that's showing up as a bunch of growth areas for some grade levels. And so we're going to be pushing every single teacher in our building into fourth grade to watch them do their vocabulary, since it's a strength for them.
We do Wordle every afternoon.
They do.
I really do Wordle.
So
Today was hard.
I have not done it. Don't tell me.
Don't say it.
Don't
I
say
haven't
it.
done
They
today.
didn't even know what it meant. I have had to explain the words in the last 2 out of 3 days. They did not know. They got the word, but did not know what the word meant. The other day when it was mince, what is that?
Yeah.
And I said, chop up teeny tiny. What do you mean? I mean, like if you got something and you take a knife and you chop it up teeny tiny.
Haven't you watched
Oh.
Princess and the Frog? That's all they talk about is mincing.
Yeah, they didn't know what it meant. And today they didn't know what it meant either. I had to explain it. But I won't say what the word was.
Don't say.
Don't say it yet. Okay, so when we look at grade levels here,
Don't say.
That's
Yesterday
number
it took me 4 times. I was annoyed. Was it
6
ample?
today.
Oh, what-
Ample.
yeah.
That was Sunday.
yeah,
Was it Sunday? Okay, then what
I
was-
do it at 9 o'clock each night. So that's like my time.
They're like, wow, now nobody can ever talk to me.
Yeah, nope.
Do you have a group text where you share it with people?
I used to, not anymore.
No.
They stopped doing it. Wordle. You have to figure out the word by guessing the letters. We'll have a game. We can play a game when we're done tonight. We'll train you up.
It's super fun. And then on Fridays, I'm gonna let them do
I
Wordle.
like that old man.
Yeah, you slammed me. You're so old. You don't know what Wordle is.
Kids playing.
It's really addictive, and I'm glad it's only one.
It's
a
only
day.
one
Yes.
day.
So, okay. So for grade levels meeting their projected growth, everybody met it. Fourth grade, spring to spring, that should be green, 86.4. So they are above there. But you can see also everybody's above 50. We're showing strong progress here and continuing that work. It's been exciting to see us back in school for a full year. We hope nothing goes crazy in the next 29, 20, whatever, how many days we have left.
25.
25, thank you.
Not that I can.
So next, when we look at demographic groups, again, we see everybody is above that 50th percentile. Our 2 or more races, they had fall to spring and spring to spring above 80% growth. And our Asian population, all 3 areas was growth, 94% growth in that. They did not do as well in math with the comparison. So they were above 50, but they were not as high as that. And then when we look at our quadrant report here, you can see the same things. Fall to spring, 72% high achievement. Winter to spring, 74%. Spring to spring, 73%. The reason there's changes in these numbers is the number of kids change because we have kids that maybe missed one of the tests. And so that's why they're slightly percentages off, but they're pretty close.
Or if they're new.
If they're
and they don't
new,
have a spring score.
it
but they have a
changes.
fall score.
Yeah. So with growth, 59% high growth in the fall to spring, winter to spring, 63%, spring to spring, 69% of our students made high growth there. So as a school, we're really on high achievement, high growth. So any questions on our map data? Okay, moving on. The next thing is just kind of a summation of a lot of these things. Some of it's a little bit different. This is our ESSER initiative data. So I'm going to hide those columns. Okay, so this is looking at some demographic groups. So you can see here, this is still map data. So this is math average achievement percentile. All of our students, the average achievement percentile for all students was 65.28. When we look at just our free and reduced lunch students, their average achievement drops to 49.46, which is a difference of 15%. So our free and reduced lunch students.
You're over here.
There, yeah.
I'm in the very last 2 columns, the spring. Sorry. The other ones are where we were in the fall, where we were in the winter.
Okay.
So just looking
So
at
we're looking at the next to last column.
yeah, those 2 last columns there. When we look at non-free and reduced lunch, those students are at averaging a 79th percentile score. So you can see that's where we see that big discrepancy of almost 30% between our free and reduced versus our non. Then we also look at our EL students, active EL students, their average percentile is 46.5. This is the score that I find fascinating. This EL students RFEP. Those are students that have exited from EL services. They've achieved the state score of a 4.5 on the access test. So they're said to be out of EL. They're achieving at a 73.19 percentile, which is typically those students struggle. So it's amazing to see how high those students are.
I would be interested to see how long it took those kids to exit.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, like the 2 I have in my room are very high achieving, but they also weren't there long. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Yes.
Like,
A lot of our RFEP kids are out. We have 2 extremes. You either RFEP within about a year to 2 years, or you're a long-term EL student. Like there's a big difference. We don't have a bunch of kids who spend just the 3
almost no
years.
middle.
Yeah.
Like,
Are those students also, is there a correlation between that and the free and reduced lunch?
I would say so. Yes.
I mean, all of my RFP kids would also fall in green with this one stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say they are
Except
connected.
for the ones when we used to get all the universities.
Yeah.
Those,
I would be interested to see as things,
even though
Get back to normal.
that's, doesn't correlate with all the others.
yeah, it always skews.
It's very
things
skewed
probably.
because, these are children in the university environment, parents are
Intellectual, yeah.
Yes. So that'll be interesting. As we get those students back, we can start to run, and with our data tracking system that we've built, we can start to add in other components that we can look at and filter out our data to get a better look at.
I'm
Hey.
sure there is something like the average RFE, how many years they were.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, we do that elevation monitoring anyway. So,
Yes.
um,
Okay. Oh, you're totally fine. We're
I mean,
looking
we
at our
nominated
ESSER
you
data.
for, like, a fundraiser and stuff,
Yes,
but other
you
than
are
that-
now the SBDM chair for the next 3 months. So when we look at our EL students here, when we combine this active and RFEP, that EL number drops to 50.49% average achievement compared to students that are non-EL, and they're at 72. So you can see those big kind of discrepancies there.
Which is the whole reason we're very supportive of our EL
Mhm.
program.
And so it's in red up here because these are gaps that are getting a little bit wider compared to previous terms. So that's why they're in red.
And I also feel like these kids suffered.
Yes, they were most impacted. So when we look at reading, which is still on that same page, just further down, all students, their average achievement percentile is at a 66.04. Our free and reduced lunch students, they averaged 51.49, and they're in green here because they're actually getting closer. The spread between the all students and them is actually getting smaller. So we're actually improving our free and reduced lunch students here. Our non-free and reduced are still way in front at a 79%. And then active ELs, 46.23% average achievement. And then our RFEP, again, here they are, 83%. The 83rd percentile in math. And then our EL students average of 51.74 compared to a non-EL of 72.51. Any questions on that? Okay, so the next page, which is the super, super tiny one, this I will be going over later when we talk about attendance, but just so you know where we're at with that. It also has number of contacts on here. Yeah,
know,
like you
it's
need,
like-
you gotta get real small. So last year at this time, through the month of March, we had made 4,773 parent contacts. As of end of March of this year, we're at 4,900 parent contacts, as noted in the PLP. So if we're not putting things in PLP, which I will say, I'm not the best about putting things in PLP when I talk to parents, but
That's why I have a little bit every time we do something. All right,
yes,
and then I put it in like 2 weeks later.
yes.
I think we had more news last year too, with the online stuff.
Uh-huh.
But we're doing it more.
And
But
then we
Lizette
had-
is very good about documenting our conversation.
And then we had a lot of those drive-throughs.
Yeah, we
every
didn't
month.
document that. Like I saw you in your car and I
Uh-huh.
asked,
Well,
I didn't document.
Some of them got documented as having contacted.
Well, and like you can see here, like we were behind through December, really through January. Because like in the fall, in October, we had 1,000 contacts last year, just in October alone. This year, we've kind of picked up coming back in January. We've seen more in the second half of the year. We saw more contacts. As we came back in person last year, our parent contacts noted in the PLP declined pretty significantly because you didn't need to.
Yeah, we didn't have to do all the home visits, dropping off stuff. I mean,
That's 75 text
Yeah.
messages too.
constant phone calls.
Yes. Okay, so next,
But that proves that our.
it proves that the
Yeah.
family community
Family
liaison is a
community liaison
is an
doing a good
important
job.
investment and has been so beneficial. And I was speaking to somebody at the district level, and they're going to help me fight for an equity claim, saying that we need that position funded by the district for equity's sake. With all of that, they're going to help me do all the paperwork and things like that. So they're like, that just happened Wednesday.
They listen.
So,
Yeah.
but like she was really adamant that like you guys need it, and it's phenomenal, and the staff we have in that role has been such a blessing to us. So, okay, so this next page, this just literally details out what we just talked about. This is the percent below the 40th percentile. So you've already seen this. Green is good, red is bad. So this was what we just talked about in math, kindergarten, third, and overall, we've reduced our lowest performing range. In first, second, fourth, and fifth, they all increased a little bit. And then when we look at reading, everybody again came down from that. Okay.
I also will say that in math,
Mhm.
as you go higher up, like 4th and 5th grade, even 3rd grade, there's a lot of reading in math.
There is.
Like there's not just a bunch of math problems on the page. Like it's all problem solving. So it's not, so there's a combined
Yeah.
skill there.
And sometimes it's just those kids who just miscount by 1 or 2.
Right.
They, and it's not like you get partial
No.
point or anything.
Yeah.
So.
And you got the kids that just guess and magically get it right. And so, okay, so the next slide or the next page, this looks at the benefits of us having an extra EL teacher. So this is a hot mess. I'm working on how to make this look not so yeah, like so what this compares is this compares our non-EL average percentile. So this is math first. So like, for example, in kindergarten, our non-ELs averaged an 85.7 average achievement percentile in the spring. Our EL students averaged a 66.31. That's a difference of 19.39. This is in red because it's bigger than it was back in the winter. So the gap is expanding here comparatively. First grade, they are closing their gap. And they closed it from in the winter and in the spring again. They're down to the difference between EL and non-EL is only 8 average percentile. Second grade, their gap is expanding. Not sure what happens with this group because it made a pretty big jump. So 16 to 32. So our non-EL students really made a big jump. So that's just something we're going to be looking at and continuing to analyze there. Third grade, their gap is closing. When we look,
We were also worried about coming into this year, and
they're really doing a great job. They've worked so hard, and that's why I feel like us investing in that extra teacher in the 4th grade to give them more like continued smaller class sizes for at least another year. I'm really hopeful that that's going to be something there.
Now, these EL students, do they include students that used to be?
This is just active. So this is not the RFEP. So the RFEP kids are in that non-EL category. So this is only kids that are actively considered EL. When we look at primary, we can see that gap has kind of expanded right here. When we look at,
I'm wondering if there were some that like were exempt and then now they're not, you know what I mean?
there could be
Like,
some of that where they didn't take it in the
and then
fall.
sometimes those active ELs, like I don't mean like active, like newcomer ELs,
Mhm.
we have them take the end of the year test to get some baseline data. So I
Yeah, that
would be
could-
curious if that, like some of ours,
Uh-huh.
they're actives that we have take the spring. So we have some data, that we have a baseline to go
Yes.
from.
So 4th grade, their gap's closing. 5th grade, the gap's getting a little bit bigger. Intermediate as a whole, though, is closing. And then you can see overall as our school in this bottom line here, that gap's widening a little bit. So just the difference there.
It might be good to break that down a little further. Like see how many newcomers are in that.
Yeah.
That would change that.
Yeah, and I
I
think,
know I had a newcomer who technically didn't have to take it, but I had him take it. So
yeah, and like as we build our data stuff next year, we can definitely tie in and say, okay, now we want to see the
do you do
newcomers.
that, Katie? Do you have them take the newcomers?
Not in the fall, but in.
I do in the spring,
Yeah.
even though they don't have to take
Yeah,
it. I
but
just like to
Or
have.
did that as well.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm wondering if like.
That
maybe
could
we
be
need to look at that,
skewing
that
that.
probably should have been something we communicated.
It's all learning, it's all growing. So I still think, we're still doing the work that's necessary, and it's just about growing and making those changes. So when we look at reading, that's that next box below there. Kindergarten, their gap is expanding a little bit. First grade, again, closing their gap.
Mm-hmm.
Second and third grade, their gaps got a little bit bigger.
moving reading to the morning.
It's,
so-
we switched reading to the morning for first grade, and that made a big impact. Primary as a whole, their gaps expanding a little bit. When we look at fourth grade's gap expanding a little bit, but we could have some of that newcomer.
I mean, I just know
Assessment.
what his score was on the statistically, I think I'm there.
Yeah, it's all your fault. So 30, and then fifth grade is closing the gap in reading and has continued to close all 3 times. And overall, we're slightly bigger.
What are the 40? Fourth grade.
Fourth grade's at
46?
47.31. Yeah, not many of them made like massive jumps. It was like a couple percent here.
We now are being up like,
Uh-huh.
person got like BR.
Yeah. And then over here, so this kind of takes out a little bit of that worry if like we have a newcomer test. This looks at our growth and compares the growth of non-EL to the growth of EL. And there's 3 different ways we looked: fall to spring, first grade reduced. This is math again. First grade reduced, second through fifth, all their gaps widened. Winter to spring, first and fourth grade reduced their gap. Everybody else widened a little bit. And then first grade in spring to spring, they rocked it out and continued to do that. And
I
again,
will
we
say
don't
it
look
will
at
be
second.
nice next year when we can go back to our co-teaching model where
Mhm.
we switch around a little bit. I think that would really help because we do that in reading and math as well.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be able to blow things up and let everybody go where they need to be and just get the support that you really need based on where it is. And it doesn't matter what homeroom you're in, that is everything like that. So, and then when we look at reading, see a lot more green here. First and fifth closed their gap in reading in fall to spring. Winter to spring, first, second, third, and fifth all closed their gap. We saw a lot of strong growth winter to spring. And I believe that's because we didn't have to quarantine and isolate and do all of that stuff, that kids were able to get that consistent instruction here. And then spring to spring, first and third grade both closed their gaps. Continue to. So because spring to spring, since the test changes. So definitely things we can work on, but not anything that's like we need to hit the panic button and we need to go back to a drawing board and completely throw out. So, and we got to just remember that the pandemic just happened and we're at least in school. So any questions kind of on our data, where we stand? So next month, I'll share with you guys Galileo data, which is the other assessment. Okay. So moving on to fund budget reports. Up first, you have the Munis reports. I apologize if you're looking on the screen. You got to turn your head. I keep forgetting that I need to rotate this before I upload it. So I apologize here. Key thing to know is we have moved all of our funds to where we can spend them the most effectively, and we are working to spend those down right now. The official purchase deadline for us as a school is April 30th. So teacher's deadline was before spring break, and now we're working to spend all the final with wish list items, things like that. We are banking $8,630 to carry forward into next year as kind of a rainy day fund. And the only negative balance on here continues to be the ESSER grant. So if you go to page 11, you'll see the ESSER grant is now $100,000 in the red. So they just don't want to give us the money, but we don't have to worry about that. Not something we need to know about. And then we should find out about the Read to Achieve grant. We should know something hopefully by Friday. The state timeline says on or around April 22nd. So that means it could be Friday or it could be in 2 months. But hopefully we know that, and I'll shoot an email out to the council as soon as we find out about that. When you look at your school activity fund, the only big changes are We got lots of grade levels going on field trips, so money's coming in and money's going out. And again, we're going to clean all this up
I was gonna ask.
over
are
the
you
summer.
cleaning this up?
Yeah. All getting cleaned up this summer when we have time. So, any questions on our budget? Okay. So moving into the super fun, it's only taken us all year. And if you're running for council again next year, we get to do this all over again, but hopefully it's faster. Policy reviews. So you guys have the policies. We've already read these. These are a second reading on them. So if everybody just wants to take a second, I won't run through them all, but if you just want to review them. And then if anybody has any other edits they would like to see, or we can take a motion and a second if we're ready to vote. And I did change all the verbiage of families and parents and guardians and things like that. So it doesn't say parents.
Should there be something in here about background check and?
That's a district policy, so we don't
Okay,
have to,
reiterate that.
yeah, it doesn't have to be in ours.
Is this the second read of the
This-
climate one?
Yeah, it's second read of everything. So if any of them that you want to kind of go through. And then when anybody's ready to motion for parent and family engagements.
Oh, I can motion that.
Okay. So there's a motion by Ms. Bowers and a second by Ms. A for our parent and family engagement policy. Any more discussion on that one? All in favor of approving our parent and family engagement policy, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next one is the committee's policy. This is a new policy, so this would be an adoption of this policy. I did remove the previous school that I borrowed this from.
There's a random B. Under procedure, second paragraph, it says exempt B. B may serve,
Exempt.
but may serve. Exempt two, what is it not up there?
Where
Right there, second line, exempt something may. Exempt.
teacher,
Team
SBM,
members are exempt, B may.
but it should but may serve on a standing committee by choice. So it gives you guys the ability, if you're on the council, that you don't have to serve if you don't want to.
I always thought that was on. Two periods for number two.
I like my ellipses. Come on.
No, it have to have three then.
I like the mid between. It's like
Well, my
making you
daughter
think
loves
it's an
is when I
ellipses, but
voice
it's
text
not.
them, I go, dot, dot, dot. And they're like, oh.
So you're doing committees, motion for committees by Ms. Raybold, second by Mr. Clark. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving our committees policy, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to our next one is the writing policy. This is a current policy, with just some removal of some terminology, that we're not doing portfolios anymore, Senate response. We took out what teachers are accountable for teaching because that's in our standards.
I don't like that first sentence. We don't really make our own. It's follow the standard. So why do we say that? I feel like the second sentence should come before the first sentence. Like it shall comply, and then it shall be designed so that everyone achieves a high level.
Okay. So moved.
If you want me to practice.
You can edit away.
Part of editing my daughter's full private essay. All I do is course correct.
Anybody's ready to motion? We can approve this one. If we like it.
Hmm. What are we replacing under writing to demonstrate learning? ERQ? Are we leaving it?
Did I not take that one? Did I?
I don't know what you mean it to say, like. ER
It's ERQ. Extended
Extended
response. We'll just take out the Q.
questions, answers? But just ER.
We'll just say extended response.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what that's going to say.
At one point, open-ended, then extended response, then, I mean.
Open
they keep
response
changing the
and
idea.
I'm waiting for it to
Changing
become
the
DBQ
terminology.
to match with an AP assessment, document-based questions. Like I'm waiting for all that to drop.
Maybe I don't like the science experiment rather. The science is so much writing now that maybe it's
Gone. Delete it.
science phenomena explanation.
Gone.
Science
It's deleted.
explanation.
It's gone.
Well, you mentioned science and no other subjects. No.
If you are done and want to go on to extracurricular, you can review that one too. Or we'll take a motion whenever somebody wants to do
I'll
writing.
motion the writing policy.
Motion on writing by Ms. Bowers. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Russell. You guys are doing a nice job of sharing. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor of approving our writing policy, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And our last policy of the night is an extracurricular programs policy. This is a new policy. And this one pretty much just says what everybody has to do.
Maybe it should say the principal shall approve/evaluate. Approve the formation and evaluate. It's like they just stink. Like, why do we have to keep doing things like that?
Shall evaluate and approve.
Formation or continuation. Did they do basketball here this year?
No,
The basketball league?
it's still across the street. I don't know if they're planning to come back to us or if they're going to stay across the street.
Once a student is dismissed, the
Mhm.
student must demonstrate compliance with the guidelines. over time.
Yeah.
I don't want to communicate with the sponsor. I just want to communicate with you.
If there's behavior.
It says procedures, guidelines for participation are classroom teachers must consult with the extracurricular sponsor if an area of concern develops. I'm not going to hunt down some sponsor. Doesn't say consult.
When we took out the monitoring periods, there's always a teacher. There's always a teacher sponsor. So we'll just say if an area of concern develops. So there's always a teacher sponsor, like for cross country, Mr. Newsom was the staff sponsor, but he didn't actually do anything unless there was an issue that he needed to help facilitate.
What about the parents that participate in? Are we just not worrying about them?
That comes under civility policy in the district for the district.
Okay. Good.
Do you think, I mean, shouldn't it, if you're basically putting a kid on probation or dismissed, it says in writing,
Mhm.
do you think that should be like a phone call or a meeting? Or,
Yeah.
It's kicked off something.
Yeah, I think via phone and phone/personal contact and in writing. Because I would say we're calling if we're
Right. that's what I
dismissing
mean.
somebody.
Why don't you just say we'll be contacted?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, this,
Will be notified.
most likely it's still be a phone
Mhm.
or something.
Yeah, no, that would be a procedure that would be put in place by me. Is like we're not removing somebody without a phone call or a meeting or something. Like it's not just this is happening. Like there would have
Oh, by
been.
the way,
So. Okay. Do we have a motion to approve? I don't know whose turn it is.
I'll approve.
Motion by Ms. Powers. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Clark. All in favor of approving our policy for extracurricular programs, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. That is the extent of our voting items tonight. So we'll just move into just some updates. You have the enrollment update. We're currently at 483 students. That's low. We've maintained steady at this kind of 480, 490 range the whole year. It's low compared to previous years and yes. This year we're stayed pretty steady. So first grade sitting with 94. They're rocking it out. Second grade sitting with 74. So we are doing kindergarten registration right now. We already have 20 students that have completed their whole registration process and 27 that are just waiting on signatures and parents to come in and do the final paperwork for that. So we're at about 47. They've projected us at 92, I think, something like that. So that's where we stand with that. Okay, the next item on here is just attendance update. If you look at the solid blue line, not solid blue, you can't see the blue line yet. If you look at the solid blue line, you guys, it's in your paper, it's big, dark, and bold. That's kind of the school-wide average trend. So the black line across the bar is 95% attendance. We've been below it, we've been above it. This is where stomach bug world happened, and it's still going on. But we had that was a big stomach bug week. But kind of it's been up, then it's down, then it's up, up, up. So we really just kind of trend up and down, and we get some good weeks. And I think this is our 97.73 is week 21, which was, thank you, computer. Week 21, that would have been pretty much right after spring, right after the new year. And I think that was like a snow day week when everybody participated virtually. So that's why we had great attendance that time, because is
this on par with every year? Well,
I haven't been, it's probably comparable. We're staying right at that 95%. So that's the goal that we want to be at. And we'll continue to look at that and compare this into next year, say with a real year.
Do you find, Helen, like you have more kids? I mean, like this is kids absent, except for random quarantines, like just in general, I feel like this is kind of a typical, like how many people are out.
Yeah, it seems that way too.
I don't feel like I have more.
Yeah, it hasn't felt.
The tardies are annoying.
Yeah. So, and I mean, you saw we took a big hit towards right before winter break. Like it was like plummeting through winter break. So, and we've been pretty good since then. Okay, next item, staffing and hiring update. So I do want to let everybody know that our custodian, Mike Williams, did start on Monday, yesterday.
He's getting rave.
He's getting rave reviews. The floors are sparkling.
Rosa's very sweet and kind.
So we are fully staffed. There are people that are hopefully going to be with us for a long time, and they're doing a great job. So we're working through that process with that. We did have our assistant principal interviews 2 weeks. I don't even know anymore. 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago. Week ago. It was last Monday. Gosh, I can't even keep track anymore. And so we recommended to hire Emily Green. She's coming to us out of Boone County. She's a current assistant principal there. She lives here and has been driving to Boone County every single day for the last 8 years. Yep. So we're very excited to have her. We had a great pool of people, and it was a very difficult decision. And so we're working through that process. The official offer from the district has not gone out yet, but that should be going out soon with that. So we do have three other positions that are currently posted. We have our special education LBD teacher, which we'll be doing interviews for that on Thursday. I've got a great pool. We had 28 people apply, narrowed it down to 6. And we, as I was saying before the meeting, that we are fighting with other schools to get candidates, because we have 2 candidates we're interviewing that have interviews prior, like in the same day prior to our interview, so that we can get them in. So I'm hopeful that we'll get somebody really good in here and move forward with that. Then we also have 2 special education paraeducators. Those interviews were planned for Monday, but we're going to put those on hold because as of right now, we only have 3 applicants. So I would like more of these special education positions to fill, and hopefully we can get somebody. They're the MSD in the MSD unit. So we're going to put those interviews on hold until we can hopefully get some more candidates in there that are going to be qualified for that. So next up, SBDM elections. We are currently seeking nominations for both the teacher and the parent representative. So if you're interested, please contact your respective parties. Please, please, please. We would love to have all of you back. unless you're leaving our school. It's so sad.
Is this your last?
So, but yes, so we'll be doing elections. So, and then we'll be bringing, we'll invite the new and elected members if there's any changes, things like that. We'll invite them all to the June meeting to kind of transition and have them join our fun for that. So last, two things on the item, just kind of for your information. I've provided these with you. The next item here is the tentative draft master schedule. I did get I presented this to our leadership team on last Thursday, got some feedback, tried to make a few tweaks. I did move recess for first grade. So
Honestly, I feel like we're cursed. It's like
It's cold. I mean, we go out at 10:55 now, and it's not warm. The kids
Yeah.
are like, it said it was going to be 60, and I'm like, and it's not.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's at the end of the day.
So this is still a tentative draft. We're meeting with our special education teachers, our EL teachers. So there may still need to be tweaks here. I'm going to go for another round of feedback with our leadership team. But just kind of sharing this is kind of what we're looking at going with. So areas that are in red up on the screen, I know it's hard to see up there, but areas in red are areas that we're going to try not to pull students out of. So these are like areas that we're going to prioritize keeping kids in the room during this time, so that they can get as much of that direct instruction as we can. So
What's red?
red is, we're not pulling them out. I just said that. Red is reading and math. So reading, math, and then at fourth grade has science and social studies as well.
Why can't
I can't see that. And Mr. B looks at me like.
Yes, since you guys,
just the same, and I'm like, but you said.
since you guys are tested in science and social studies, we prioritize that time as we want to try and keep our kids in the room as much as possible. Again, this is out.
What a wizard to put this together. I cannot even.
I would rather not.
So yeah, so that it'll go back for another round of feedback with the leadership team. We tried to make some revisions to meet everybody's needs as best as we can. So, because the one issue is you move one thing and it's the ripple effect of everything across every single different. So just I don't think they will, and because I can be a lot. If special ed comes in, I can say no, we're not changing it.
I just was like, I don't know.
Well, I'm really good at getting what I want.
Have not been favorable as per what.
Very well
Yeah.
worded.
So
It's very well worded. Their past input has not been favorable.
yes, so yes, it's going to be fun. And so then the last thing, I'm just providing you with this document so you guys can start reviewing it. This will get approved at our May meeting. This is our our Summer Ignite School proposal. It has to be approved by SBDM, but we have to have it all done before it's approved by SBDM. It's really backwards. So I'm just going to share with you kind of the structure we've put in place. So we are targeting students between the 30th and the 50th percentile in math or reading. Because we feel that those are the students that are going to have the best opportunity to show continued growth throughout the summer and really continue to meet their needs. When we get down into our lower percentile students, those kids need the support, but they don't show as much growth with that. So we've sent out invitations for that. Something different that we're going to be trying with Summer Ignite this year is it's not going to be grade level classes. When they go, it's going to be based on their MAP score. So if you're a 168, kids that are near that score could be a second, third, fourth grader are all going to be working in the same group. We're going to try not to put like we're not going to put a kindergartner with a fifth grader.
Well, they wouldn't be in that range.
Yes. So the goal is just to look at and get the kids grouped a little bit better so that they meet the needs. The issue we're having is we have some kids that fall like 32nd percentile in one content area, and then they're 85th in the other, or they're 49th and then second. So it's playing the puzzle of that. So we're just really trying to meet the needs. I believe the theme we're going with is Encanto. So we're doing a lot of work with that. We're bringing in the Salsa Center. So, so yes, the Salsa Center is going to come in and teach our kids how to salsa dance for a lot of fun.
I was like,
Yeah, it is. It's right by Garden Springs. So, but yeah, so lots of fun things that we're going to do and just really promote the cultural diversity here. So you have that to kind of share. We've been approved for our staffing and things like that. So that's a work in progress. Okay.
I know I came in late.
Yep.
After the opening.
Yep.
Remarks. I had some parents approach me to ask about when parents are allowed to visit for lunch.
Yes.
And why they aren't allowed to visit for lunch. I told them I would get clarification.
Yeah. The plan is to start rolling that out come May.
Okay.
That we're going to start bringing parents back in. We just needed kind of a transition period. Yeah. May 27th will be the first step. Where the goal is that we're going to start rolling that out in May. We needed some time with us rolling out breakfast. We needed a little bit of transition period to get breakfast and different structures and volunteers. So yes, that is, and that's going to go out in the newsletter this Friday that we're inviting families back in starting
I
at that
assume
point.
we're reiterating the fact we don't bring in food from outside.
Yes. Yes, that will all get, no Chick-fil-A.
No.
You bring in that, you're sitting in the conference room eating by yourself. So so yes, that is the plan is we just need to do a slow rollout to figure out our structures with everything. Yep. Okay, so the only other agenda item that I just want to review with the council is our May meeting date. Our normal meeting date is May 17th. That is election day. So we had set up that we were going to meet May 10th is what I had in my calendar, or we can choose to meet May 24th. So you guys talk to me about what we want to do. Because we can meet on election day if we want to.
No,
It's,
thank you.
that's what we had initially. We said that initially. I just want to confirm with everybody that that's still
I'm okay with it.
where we want to go.
I did not have that, but I will be happy. And then
Okay.
rescheduling.
So we'll plan on May 10th. I get the joy of doing SBDM and then HOA board meeting directly after that. So it'll be so much fun that night. So we will plan on meeting on May 10th for our next meeting. These meetings start to get a little bit quicker again now that we're out of staffing season. We'll have a transition meeting in June. So that meeting, I believe, let's see, that meeting is June 21st. So, okay, so that brings us to our adjournments. Does anybody have any other items they would like to discuss, or is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Ms. Russell, a second by Mr. Clark. All in favor of adjourning our meeting at 6:10, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you to everybody who joined